calm, steady, almost simple. The kind of simple that sneaks up on you. The kind you don't question until it's already become important. My name is Robert. I'm 27 years old, and I live in a mid-sized city in the United States. I work for myself, building custom gaming computers. High-end setups, clean cable management, machines built exactly for what people need. Some clients find me online, some through friends. It's not flashy work, but it's honest, and it pays the bills. I like working with my hands. I like solving problems. I like knowing that if something breaks, I can fix it. I live alone in a small apartment, not far from downtown. Most days look the same. Orders in the morning, builds during the day, testing late at night. Quiet mornings with coffee. Quiet nights with my tools and the low hum of fans spinning inside a case. I hadn't been in a serious relationship for a while, not because I was closed off, but because nothing ever felt right. I wasn't chasing drama or excitement. I just wanted something real. I met Carol by accident. One of those moments that doesn't feel important at the time. We started talking casually. No pressure, no flirting at first. She was confident and attractive, but not in a loud way. Calm, natural. She laughed easily and didn't seem like she was trying to impress anyone. At some point in the conversation, it came up naturally, and she said she was single. That mattered to me. We exchanged numbers. The first few days were just messages. Light conversations. Jokes. Random thoughts during the day. Nothing intense, but it felt easy. Effortless. The kind of talking where you don't check the time. Then we started meeting up. Coffee at first. Short walks. Sitting in the car talking longer than we planned to. It didn't feel like dating right away. It felt like two people enjoying each other's company. Over time, the meetings became regular. A few times a week. Sometimes she'd stop by while I was finishing a build, just to sit and talk. Other times we'd grab dinner somewhere simple. She always seemed present, interested, comfortable with me. She listened when I talked, asked questions about my work, remembered small details. That mattered more than anything else. After a few weeks, things naturally crossed a line. Sitting closer, a hand on my arm. A kiss that wasn't planned but didn't feel wrong. It was soft. Real. Still careful. We weren't labeling anything. We weren't talking about the future. We were just seeing each other. 2 months passed like that. By then, we were talking almost every day, seeing each other often, laughing, kissing, sharing pieces of our lives. It still wasn't what I'd call a serious relationship, but it was clearly more than nothing. And at some point I realized I cared more than I expected to. I'm not someone who likes uncertainty. If I'm investing emotionally, I want to know where I stand. I didn't want to assume. I didn't want to guess. I wanted clarity. Not promises. Not labels. Just honesty. I started noticing how much my routine had shifted around her. Checking my phone more often. Thinking about things I wanted to tell her. Planning my week around when we might see each other. Some nights after she left, I'd sit alone in my apartment and think about how quietly she had become part of my life. Not dramatically, not suddenly, just naturally. And that scared me a little. She never talked about another man. Not once. No hints, no strange gaps in her stories. She answered calls and messages naturally. Her schedule made sense. Everything lined up in a way that felt honest. Physically, things stayed restrained but real. Nothing rushed, nothing hidden. It didn't feel like secrecy. It felt like trust. That's when I decided to tell her how I felt. Properly. Not in a car. Not over text. I wanted to look her in the eyes. I booked a small restaurant downtown. Quiet. Simple. Nothing fancy. I reserved a table a few days in advance, something I almost never do. I bought flowers on the way there, not because I thought it would change her answer, but because it felt right. The whole day I felt calm but aware, like standing at the edge of something important. I arrived early, ordered water, watched people come and go, completely unaware that my entire sense of direction depended on one conversation. Then she walked in. She smiled when she saw me, but it didn't reach her eyes. Her movements were slower, careful. She hugged me, but it felt tense, like she was carrying something heavy. I told myself not to overthink it. People have bad days. We sat down. I handed her the flowers. She thanked me, but her voice wavered. We made small talk, ordered food, tried to stay normal. But the ease we'd built over 2 months felt fragile. At some point, I knew I couldn't delay it anymore. I told her I had something important to say. I had no idea that one sentence was about to change everything. I spoke slowly because I didn't want to scare the moment away. I told her that over the last 2 months, she had become important to me, that I cared about her more than I planned to. I said I wasn't asking for promises or labels, but I needed to understand where we stood and whether we were moving in the same direction. I wanted honesty. Nothing more. She didn't look at me while I spoke. Her eyes stayed on the table. Her hands were folded tight in her lap. She didn't interrupt me. She didn't seem surprised. When I finished, there was a long silence, the kind that makes you aware of every sound around you. Plates clinking, soft music, someone laughing at another table. Then she took a breath and looked up at me. "I need to tell you something," she said. Her voice wasn't shaking, but it wasn't steady either. It sounded practiced, like she had said the words many times in her head and still hated them. I waited. My chest felt tight, but I didn't know why yet. "I'm married," she said. The words landed, but they didn't make sense right away. My brain rejected them. Married didn't fit anywhere in the last 2 months. It didn't belong to the nights we talked, the kisses, the way she looked at me. She added another sentence quickly, like she was afraid of the silence. "But I'm not happy." For a moment, I honestly didn't understand what she meant. The room felt too warm, then too cold. I asked her to repeat it, not because I hadn't heard her, but because I needed to be sure. She nodded and said it again, slower this time. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the wall behind her. My head started replaying everything, every message, every meeting. Every time she left early and said she had things to do. Every time I assumed she was just busy. I realized something that made my stomach turn. After seeing me, after kissing me, she went home to her husband. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult her. I just said the first honest thing that came to my mind. I told her there was nothing more for us to talk about. I reached for my jacket, already preparing to stand up. That's when she broke. She started crying hard, covering her face with her hands. Her shoulders shook. People at nearby tables glanced over and then looked away. She reached for my arm and begged me not to leave. She asked me to sit down. She said she just needed a few minutes to explain. I don't know why I sat back down. Maybe it was shock. Maybe it was the fact that 2 months of my life didn't disappear just because of one sentence. Maybe I needed to hear the explanation, even if it wouldn't change anything. She wiped her face and started talking. She said her marriage had been dead for years, that her husband didn't see her or care about her, that she felt lonely even when she wasn't alone. She said meeting me made her feel alive again. She said she never meant to hurt anyone, that it just happened. I listened. I didn't interrupt. But inside, something stayed firm, cold. Being unhappy doesn't give you permission to lie. Being married doesn't become optional because it's inconvenient. She didn't just lie to her husband. She lied to me. She took away my right to choose. When she finished, she looked at me like she was waiting for comfort or forgiveness. I told her the truth. I said I wasn't judging her marriage and I didn't need to know her husband to know myself. I told her I would never knowingly be involved with a married woman. I said her problems at home were hers to deal with before bringing someone else into her life. I stood up. She asked me to stay. She promised things would change. She said she loved me. I didn't respond. I paid the bill, walked out of the restaurant and didn't look back. The weeks after that were heavy. I felt stupid. I replayed conversations, searching for signs I missed. I was angry at her and angry at myself. I threw myself into work. Long nights. Builds that didn't need to be perfect, but I made them perfect anyway just to stay busy. Then one evening, her name appeared on my phone. She said she needed to see me. She said she had filed for divorce. She said she loved me and wanted us to be together for real this time. I stared at the message for a long time. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her. I didn't reply to her message right away. I read it, put my phone down, picked it up again, and read it once more. She said she had filed for divorce. She said she loved me. She said she wanted to explain everything face to face. Part of me wanted to ignore it completely. I had already walked away once, and that decision had taken more out of me than I wanted to admit. But another part of me needed closure. Not hope, not reconciliation, just clarity. I didn't want to keep wondering if there was something unfinished following me around. So I agreed to meet her. We chose a quiet cafe. Neutral. Public. Calm. Nothing romantic about it. I arrived early and sat near the window. When she walked in, I noticed right away how much effort she had put into her appearance. Her hair was done carefully. Her makeup was subtle but intentional. She looked nervous but determined. She smiled when she saw me, like seeing me meant something familiar and safe. I didn't smile back, not to be cruel, but because I didn't want to send the wrong message. We sat down. She didn't waste much time. She told me she had ended things with her husband, that the marriage was finally over. That meeting me had forced her to face how unhappy she truly was. She said she had started the divorce process. She said she loved me, and that this time she was being honest. I listened. Calmly, quietly, just like before. Then I asked her one simple question. If that's true, I said, give me your husband's contact. She froze, not confused, not surprised, just frozen. Like she had never imagined that possibility. She asked why I needed it, why I didn't trust her, why I was making things difficult. I told her the truth. Trust isn't something you ask for after you break it. She had lied to me for 2 months, and then lied again by omission. If everything she said was real, there shouldn't be a problem. Her tone changed. She said I was being unreasonable, that I was punishing her for the past, that I should believe her because of how she felt. That's when I said something that had been sitting in my chest for months. You're the one who gave me reasons not to believe you. She didn't answer that. She stood up, shook her head, and said she couldn't do this. She accused me of being cold, of not loving her enough, of not understanding her situation. She walked out without giving me a name, a number, anything. And in that moment, I knew the truth still wasn't on the table. After that meeting, something in me settled. Not anger, not sadness, resolution. I realized that if I wanted the truth, I wasn't going to get it from her, so I found it myself. It wasn't difficult. A few searches, a few connections. She hadn't hidden her life as well as she thought. I reached out to her husband and asked if we could talk. I didn't explain why. I just said it was important. He agreed. We met in a quiet place, just like I had with her. When I saw him, the first thing that struck me was how ordinary he was. Calm, polite, normal, not intimidating, not cruel. We talked about neutral things at first. Work, the city, life. Then I slowly shifted the conversation. I asked about his family. When he talked about his wife, his face softened. He spoke warmly about their routine and their plans. He mentioned their 2 children with a quiet pride that didn't feel forced. Then I asked if there were any problems at home. Any talk of separation, any talk of divorce. He looked genuinely confused. No, he said. We're good. Normal ups and downs, but nothing serious. Definitely no divorce. There was no hesitation in his voice, no doubt. In that moment, something heavy settled in my chest. Not rage, not relief, just confirmation. Everything she had told me was a story designed to keep options open. I stood up, thanked him for his time, and walked away. I chose not to destroy something I didn't create. I chose not to fight a battle that wasn't mine. That was the moment I truly let her go. After that meeting, everything became quiet. Not the peaceful kind of quiet, but the kind that comes after a storm has passed and left things broken but still. I didn't contact Carol again. She didn't contact me either. That silence said more than any message ever could. On the surface, my life went back to normal. Orders, builds, deliveries. Long nights testing systems. Early mornings packing boxes. If someone looked at my life from the outside, nothing had changed. But inside, something had shifted for good. I thought a lot about the conversation with her husband, about how easily she had lied. Not just to me, but to herself. About how convincing words can sound when they are meant to protect a choice instead of tell the truth. I also thought about the choice I didn't make. I could have told him everything. I could have laid the truth on the table and walked away feeling justified. But I knew that wouldn't have been about honesty anymore. It would have been about revenge. And that's not who I am. The way he spoke about his family mattered to me. Not because it proved she was lying, but because it showed me something else. He believed in his life. He believed in his marriage. Whether that belief was misplaced or not wasn't my responsibility to destroy. I realized something important in those days. Sometimes doing the right thing doesn't mean exposing the truth to everyone. Sometimes it just means refusing to be part of the lie any longer. I blocked her number. Not out of anger. Not to punish her. I did it because I needed a clean ending. No late-night messages, no apologies, no what-ifs. I don't know what happened to her after that. I don't know if she ever told her husband the truth. I don't know if she stayed, left, or found someone else. And I honestly don't want to know. What I do know is this. For 2 months, I believed I was building something honest. And when that belief collapsed, I walked away, instead of compromising myself to hold on to an illusion. That decision cost me comfort, familiarity, and a future that never actually existed. But it gave me something more important: peace. I learned that being alone is better than being someone's escape. I learned that love doesn't begin with secrecy, and it doesn't survive on half-truths. And I learned that walking away doesn't always mean you lost. Sometimes it means you chose yourself. Today, my life is simple again. Work, friends, quiet evenings. I'm open to meeting someone new, but I'm not in a hurry. I trust myself more now. I trust my instincts. And I trust that when something real comes along, it won't start with a confession that shatters everything. That chapter is closed. I never went back.